Howdy folks, I'm Hot Hat, hatefully hitting humid haze.
I'm Amber.
And here's more of a humid haze for us to hit. I don't know why, but we're going to.
Well, I mean, people wave their hats to, fight off the heat and humidity.
I guess so. So just remember, folks, if you're hot and you're humid and you're sitting outside, wave your hat and it'll go bye-bye.
That's not quite how it works, but people do it anyway.
Let's get started. All right, folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Not Letting My Son Attend His Girlfriend's Birthday? My son is 17, and his girlfriend, we'll call her Jill, who he's had since middle school, will be celebrating her 18th birthday soon. My son, Jill, and many friends that they both have are huge into Japanese culture. Sushi, anime, learning Japanese in school, etc. Hence, for her birthday, Jill is renting a room at a high-end sushi place. Jill's parents will cover half of the cost, but the guests are expected to cover the other half. $450. This honestly took me aback. It's obviously not that I don't want my son to be there for his girlfriend's birthday, but $450 is a large amount of money, and it's as close to completely unaffordable as something could be. Am I old-fashioned for thinking that invited guests in this manner shouldn't be expected to pay at all? Long story short, my son became extremely upset when I told him that I wouldn't pay for him to attend Jill's birthday party. Currently, my son is the only other person invited besides one other, yet to RSVP yet. I offered to let him take Jill out separately for an affordable dinner experience. I would be willing to pay for that fully, but he is still upset with me. Am I the jerk? Alright folks, what do you think?
Not the jerk. I mean, it's unreasonable to expect the guests to foot the bill of the event. If it's too expensive for them to have, they can downsize. But to ask $450 per person is pretty outrageous.
Yeah, I have a really hard time thinking that this is a reasonable request. Certainly, I get if the restaurant is expensive and they want to split that cost. Sure, I guess, because the kids, they're the one who are interested in this kind of stuff, and they're the ones who are probably asking the parents to take them there, right? And so it does make some sense to some degree to have the kids cover some of this cost, because this is clearly something that they all want to do. With that said, I think that the son, if he's really this interested in doing this, either needs to cut into his allowance or get a part-time job in order to pay for this experience, right? You can't always have, champagne tastes, right? That's just not how it always goes, right? And I certainly understand why he would want to spend the birthday with his girlfriend, but again, if it's cost prohibitive, then that's the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, certainly, I don't understand OP's, financial situation, but I think that it's certainly something that OP needs to decide whether or not it's affordable, because it sounds like he's saying that this isn't affordable.
Yeah, I mean, my take is that OP has offered to celebrate another time with the girlfriend and pay for it completely if it's affordable. I'm assuming a regular just sit-down dinner or something like that. And I feel like that's a perfectly reasonable compromise. It doesn't seem like OP is in an income bracket where you can just throw away $450 like it's nothing.
Yeah, but let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Falling into Polka Dot says, not the jerk. It would be one thing maybe if the whole pile of friends were planning to go and the $450 was split between them, and that would be much more manageable. But yeah, if this is a party her parents are throwing for her, they should be covering the whole cost. Also, they could have chosen a less expensive place or a non-private separate room type of situation. To ask you and your son to pay $450 for the parents' birthday bash for their daughter is ridiculous. It's not really a gift to her or a party if none of her friends are coming. They should have just had this be their nice family 18th birthday party instead. And Little Breadcrumb says, not the jerk. Aren't birthday parties supposed to provide for the guests first and foremost? The price is outrageous. Even as an adult making my own money, I wouldn't do that for just good sushi, let alone a teenager expecting their parents to pay. I think once he is pulled from the plans, the entire idea will likely fall through based on him being 1/3 of the party. Then they can plan out normal, affordable birthday party instead. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for grounding my daughter for ruining her stepbrother's birthday? This is about my daughter Anne, an 11-year-old female. Anne's dad passed away when she was 8. I married my now husband 2 years ago. He has a son, Tyler, a 9-year-old male. To give you some context, Anne has been bullying my stepson for a while. Since Anne is older, Tyler often ends up hurt or in tears from Anne's malicious name-calling and insults, although Anne has tried to defend her actions by claiming that Tyler started it on numerous occasions. My husband and I have repeatedly told Anne that she should be more mature since Tyler is younger, and that she should simply ignore him and not let herself be provoked. The problem is that last week was my stepson's birthday. We were singing happy birthday and Anne blew out the candles, grabbed the cake, and smashed it on the ground. It happened extremely quickly that everyone was in shock of what happened. After that, Tyler started crying and everyone had to leave early. Anne's actions pretty much ruined Tyler's party. I asked Anne why she did it, and she said it was because last year Tyler blew out most of her birthday candles, and the fact that she wasn't allowed to have her favorite cake flavor, lemon, due to Tyler's food aversion to fruits like lemon. I couldn't believe how selfish and spoiled Anne was. Tyler blowing out his birthday candles was an accident, and he got carried away with the celebration excitement and said that he didn't mean to, whereas what Anne did was intentional, petty, and mean-spirited. I was sick of her antics that I decided to ground her for 1 month. As part of her punishment, my husband and I decided that she would not join us in our upcoming holiday trip, and instead she would be dropped off at my parents' place. When Anne found out the news, she cried and started saying how sorry she was. I told her that she should have thought about this before humiliating Tyler and ruining his special day. She needs to learn that actions have consequences and that her behavior will not be tolerated. When I informed my parents about what happened, they got angry and claimed it was an unjust punishment. They threatened that if we don't let Anne go with us, they will take Anne on a holiday of their own. I can't believe my parents are rewarding Anne's horrible behavior. Tyler is still upset, and Anne is also refusing to speak to anyone except for her grandparents. Alright folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Yeah, I think Opie's the major jerk here. Now, I'm not excusing what Anne did. That wasn't very nice of her, but I can understand her frustration when it's very clear that her stepbrother is the golden child here. Anytime he does anything wrong, it's, oh, he doesn't mean it. He's too young. He's 9 years old. He knows he's old enough to know not to blow out other people's birthday candles. And he can provoke her all he wants. And they're like, just don't let yourself be provoked. Where are the consequences for his misbehavior? He's not some sweet, innocent little angel. He is a child who needs correcting. And the whole, like, holding Anne, who's only 2 years older, to, like, these much higher standards because she's older by 2 years is just not fair.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm getting that kind of same impression here. I don't think that what Anne did was right, but it also seems like this is a matter of frustration, and because, again, they are blaming her every single time he gets provoked, or every time he provokes her, and it's one of those situations where, like, parents sometimes, like, if a kid is loud and they, start to raise a fuss and stuff like that, the parents sometimes will punish the person being loud as opposed to the instigator. And I think that that's unfortunate because it means that the instigator can kind of get away with it as long as they make sure that the person who they're provoking is loud and, angry and stuff like that, because the parents will come through and be like, you need to not yell or something like that. And, like, while that's true, they also need to ensure that the other child isn't provoking them, right? And like you said, there's a 2-year age difference here. It's not like Anne is that much older.
Yeah, and so, like, I'm really glad the grandparents are on her side, and maybe they can get more custody of her, because the way OP and her husband are treating Anne is completely unfair, and it's only going to make things worse for Anne.
Yeah, I mean, I really would like to see them all go into family therapy or something to that effect and kind of actually sit down and work through these problems, because I don't think that the parents are necessarily seemingly treating things fair. I don't know for sure, right? All we have is a very narrow glimpse, and we're kind of reading some subtext here, and maybe we're misinterpreting things. I don't know that for sure. But it feels that way to me. It feels like Anne is being punished a lot more than their brother, and that she is being provoked by him, and then, she's being blamed when she takes the bait. And, she needs to also learn not to take the bait, but kids are kids, right? Like,
Right, well, and he needs to be taught not to treat other people like that. You know, just because, again, he's a little younger doesn't mean that he doesn't know exactly what he's doing.
Well, and he does know exactly what he's doing, right? Because he's manipulating the situation
Mm-hmm.
to provoke her into getting in trouble.
Right.
He knows exactly what he's doing. I know this kind of kid.
Mm-hmm.
This is very obvious what he is doing because this is how kids like this operate.
Right, and they're not doing him any favors by not calling him out and punishing him. They're creating a monster.
Yeah. Yeah, but before we end up going, what do you think about her bullying?
Well, Opie is such an unreliable narrator here. Like, certainly if she is bullying him, that's not cool. But I get the vibe that what's happening is he taunts her, she responds, he cries, Opie rushes in to save him.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of the impression that I was getting from this one as well. And I mean, I do think, like, if this is a case where she is being a bully, then there does need to be, like, some action where they're separated, right?
Right, but if he's picking on her and she's reacting, like, maybe they both need consequences and to be put apart, but it's not fair to paint her as a bully when she's just reacting to his tormenting.
Yeah, and if that is the case, it's really hard to say because, like I said, there's a lot of subtext here. It's really difficult to interpret if this is truly bullying because she does say, like, she calls him names and stuff like that, but it's only after he provokes her.
That's what it sounds like. And again, she's so clearly biased to her stepson that, like, I can't trust that anything she says.
Like, it would be different if she was going up to him and actually, like, calling him names and, whatnot, and,
Unprovoked.
unprovoked and harming him and whatnot. But these are all reactionary type of things.
It's what it sounds like. Opie admits that he starts it most of the time, but she just dismisses it because he's younger.
Yeah. So that's where I kind of feel like it might not actually be like a bullying situation because it generally is bullies won't do this. But bullies don't need to be provoked to actually bully, right? So if there is actual bullying going on here, that's not good, and the daughter needs to actually face discipline. But yeah. But let me know what you folks think. Are we completely off base here, or what do you think? So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Buttercup Grump says, you're the jerk. Anne denied her favorite cake on her birthday and Tyler blows out her candles. No mention of punishment. And no, it wasn't an accident. No one with a brain cell believes that he was just excited. Anne destroys Tyler's cake as revenge. And not only do you punish her, you call her selfish and spoiled. Tell me you have a favorite without telling me that you have a favorite. What's the deal here? Are you just trying to appease your current husband by favoring his son, or do you resent Anne because she's a girl? I am trying to understand why you're bending over backwards for him. At this point, Anne is better off with her grandparents. They're the only adults here who seem to love her. And Vegetable Cod 2340 says, I'm also annoyed at their you're older, so don't let yourself get provoked. How long is Anne supposed to let Tyler and OP treat her badly? I'm a little sister, and we can be very annoying, and I'll be honest, if I know that my parents are on my side, I will push the limits of my sister's patience. And to add, I think we all know where this is going, and in a decade, when OP posts that her daughter is getting married and she's not invited, please refer to this post. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for being offended that my husband told his friends that he would reel me in when one of them commented on my breasts? My husband is a 31-year-old male and I'm a 23-year-old female. Recently went on a vacation with a lot of our friends, 5 couples including us. I only really know the woman very well, but I see all 4 of these couples very often. Also relevant to the story is about 6 months ago, I got a breast augmentation. It's not really a secret. Most of the women know, and besides, I went from a B to a D, so it's obvious. I've heard that they look great, so I'm not embarrassed by it. It came up a few times during this trip because I was constantly in a bikini, just like the other girls. It was mostly just them being, look, wow, they look so good, and that kind of thing. Well, this problem started one night while I was in my bikini, sitting with my husband and 2 men. One of the men, Luke, kept looking at my breasts. I kind of brushed it off because I was literally sitting on my husband's lap, so I figured not much would happen. However, I was wrong. Luke drunkenly pipes up and says Leah, who's his wife, told me that I should touch your breasts during this trip to see if I like the way they feel. And I was like, excuse me? My husband was like, what in the world? Luke quickly backpedaled and explained that him and Leah were talking about my breasts, weird, and saying that she might want to get hers done as well, but she wants to know if he liked the way they felt. I knew my husband was getting really mad, So I tried to make light of the situation and was like, haha, Leah could have just asked me to have her feel them herself. Leah came over at that point and was very mad that Luke had said that. It was all very awkward, so I just stood up and said that I was getting a drink. As I was waiting for my drink, I could hear the conversation. Luke apologized to my husband, and my husband said, as long as he doesn't do that or say it again, they're good. Luke said sorry for being offensive. My husband curtly answered that he wasn't offended. Luke then said, I think your women might be right. My husband then proceeds to laugh, turns to look at me, and says, don't worry about her, I'll reel her in. Her and those bikini tops. I heard this and I was just so mad. I ended up just staying with another woman for most of the night. Like, reeling her in and criticizing my choice of top when it was Luke who said this to me is just ridiculous. When I told my husband how offended this made me feel, he ordered me to drop it. So am I the jerk for being offended about this? Alright folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Not the jerk, and I am seriously concerned about this relationship. I mean, the way he's ordering OP around isn't cool, and the victim blaming, like, here is his wife being sexually harassed, and he's just like, well, don't say that again, I'm going to reel her in.
Well, and what did she even say that was out of pocket or out of hand, right?
Well, that's the thing, is all she did was exist in a bikini.
Yeah, she didn't yell at him. She didn't do, like, I'm not saying, I think she would have been justified to yell at him. She played it off. She said, oh, haha, funny, funny joke, right? Let Leah, ask me instead. And then went to get a drink. And I don't know what in that part of the conversation where she needed to be reeled in or anything like that. Not that any reaction she had here would have been unacceptable, but especially the reaction that she had here, there's no reeling in to be had.
Well, it seems like he's suggesting that he's going to force her to wear more modest clothes or something.
Oh, you think like that?
Well, because he's like, her in those bikini tops. Like, it seems like he's upset that she's wearing bikinis like everyone else.
That's not how I interpreted it in my mind, but now that you say it like that, it makes sense. Like, why? Well, I mean, this is, again, like, it's not her fault that she was harassed by a friend here, right? A friend.
Right. And, like, the husband should be furious at this other man for sexually harassing his wife.
Yeah.
And he shouldn't be upset at her for wearing clothes.
Yeah, so I think that this is a pretty icky situation. I don't blame OP for getting mad at her husband. I mean, I think this is really one of the situations where getting mad at him is warranted, especially if he's trying to tell her to dress more modestly. Really, how about just have men control themselves? But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Big Bang of Stupidity says, he sounds like a great guy. Sarcastically, I'm sure. And Look at This Dude's Head says, have anyone else noticed a pattern with all these big age gap relationships? He ordered me to drop it. Ordered? Laughing my butt off. You all stop dating creepy old men. They don't respect you. And Veritas B says, ordered you. I would be offended just for that alone, not the jerk. And Penalty Desperate 3706 says, my wife would take the first plane out there to get a divorce process started ASAP if I ever had the nerve to order her anything. But then again, we have a loving, respectful relationship. Alright folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she has a joke.
Pete, you went to Alaska on your vacation? Was it cold up there? Pat, you bet it was cold. It was so cold the candles froze and we couldn't blow them out.
Speaking of blowing out candles, I guess that one works well for today, but only for today. And I have Earl Grey. Alright folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy terrific Tuesday, folks. I hope your Tuesday is off to a terrific start. Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance. And please have it involve birthdays or celebrations.
If you can't afford a party, downsize instead of expecting your guests to contribute.
I think that's good advice. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.